Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer 55551, and I am back with a review video for this one. Although this one might be a little bit late, I kind of apologize. A lot of things has caught up and all. And I want to give my review on Fire Emblem Engage, the newest entry in the Fire Emblem series for the Nintendo Switch. And if you're interested in any gameplay footage, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you can click on the card that will appear up on this video. And for parents out there, it's worth pointing out that Fire Emblem Engage is rated T for teens for ages 13 and up by the ESRB rating system. When it comes to Nintendo IPs, a lot of people will recognize the IPs of, like, say, Pokemon, Mario, and Zelda, but every once in a while, Nintendo also has some of these smaller IPs that, while have a following, don't have a huge amount of attention. To be exact, some of them like Punch-Out, Kid Icarus, F-Zero for that matter. But one particular franchise that started out as sort of being a smaller title but has sort of gained popularity over the years has been the Fire Emblem series, which made its debut, or at least debut here in the West, back around when the Game Boy Advance launched with the first Fire Emblem game, followed by several other entries, including some on the Nintendo DS. But when it really took off was on the 3DS, when basically you had Fire Emblem Awakening, which I think brought more people into the series. This followed up with Fire Emblem Fate, Shadows of Vandal. Apologize for not saying it correctly though. But we've also seen entries into the Nintendo Switch era with Fire Emblem Three Houses and the spin-offs of Fire Emblem Warriors with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hope. So what's kind of interesting during one of Nintendo's Direct when they announced that a brand new Fire Emblem game was coming to the Nintendo Switch. And after spending some time with Fire Emblem Engage, I will say that this one definitely, there are some small things that not everyone will agree with, but I will say it still maintains a lot of that gameplay that people enjoyed if you played some of the past Fire Emblem games, and I can see how this one could definitely appeal to a lot of folks out there. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And this one has to do with the visuals, and this kind of surprised me a little bit with Fire Emblem Engage. And that has to basically do is that up to before Engage came out though, Fire Emblem isn't as well known on the visual side of stuff though. But some of their, it's not that the games look terrible or anything like that, they just never looked as impressive as, say, like Zelda does, or Mario, or Donkey Kong to be exact. So I was kind of a little bit surprised to see the visuals in Fire Emblem Engage actually look good, even for a Fire Emblem game in general. And that's kind of surprising to see that from the Fire Emblem series and all. Yes, it still maintains some of its anime style to it though, but it actually looks better, even better looking than, say, what Fire Emblem Three Houses looked. So that's kind of a bit of surprise, to be exact, with the Fire Emblem series. That's not something that the Fire Emblem series is well known for. So to see the visuals actually look good is kind of impressive to a certain degree. And last but not least is the combat and the gameplay in the game though, and it still maintains that combat that a lot of people either love or hate depending on your perspective though. Basically it still follows the same approach with the weapon wheel, which is basically sword beats axe, if I'm saying this correctly, sword beats axe, axe beats spear, and spear beats sword though. You also have the abilities with, people could cast spells, whether it's healing to other types of different spells that could do damage to enemies, to even bows and arrows type of units though. You basically move your units around a grid, and depending on which enemy you take on though, you'll see exactly how the battle might play out in terms of who has the better advantage, in terms of basically, can you do more than one hit? Can you do just one damage? How much damage will the enemy do to you? So you do have to keep an eye on based on which enemy you take on. You also have to be careful where you position your units. In some cases, like the bows and arrows ones, they could do damage basically from the distance, especially against if you have like a flying creature unit, to be exact though. But sometimes they can, keep, be exposed, like if you get close to the enemy to attack and everything. Same thing if you have a unit that basically heals and all. Along the way, you'll also run into find certain things in the field, like you might find more money, to more bonds, which those are used to sort of basically work with the rings you have, because there are certain rings that basically will summon Fire Emblem characters from past entries and all that you could bond with and basically do a lot of damages to the enemies though. So you do have to build up that bondship with basically your units and everything. So it's a really neat system they have for the Fire Emblem games for this game to be in particular though. But otherwise it does follow close to the tried and true formula if you played past Fire Emblem games. So those who played the past one will see some of the similarities with basically the past entries and all, and that certainly isn't a bad thing. Another thing to point out is that they also have basically the ability to play it as either in the normal mode or the casual mode, which is something that started when Fire Emblem Awakening came out, which is if your unit is defeated on the field in casual mode, you won't be able to use them again during that battle, but you can use them into future battles, where in normal mode, if they're defeated in the battlefield, they're gone for good. You won't be able to get them back though. So nice that they still maintain that option, especially for those who are not comfortable with the traditional Fire Emblem approach and would prefer, the casual mode to be exact. So really good that they kept that, but in general, the combat and the gameplay is still enjoyable and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, which is the con. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my video review of Fire Emblem Engage for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, why don't we get started with the cons? There's really only one con that I could think of, and this one will depend on your preferences and taste. Some are going to figure this isn't a big deal, others might be disappointed depending on how you want to look at it, and that has to do with the relationship. Now, what started in Fire Emblem Awakening, though, the game gave you the option to have relationship with different, other characters, or waifus, if you want to call it that way, though. And in Fire Emblem Awakenings and Fate, when you engage in a relationship, you can basically give birth to children or crest babies that basically, are other units that grow up to be other units and all. And there were some relationships in basically Fire Emblem Three Houses, though, although they had the relationships basically where only you could get the S relationship with, the main character and all. And this one is kind of follows in that footsteps, though. You don't have that kind of relationship type situation you did like in past Fire Emblem games. Yes, you can have units basically work together, and if they succeed in defeating an enemy, you'll see like a heart, and you can engage in, conversations and all. That still remains intact, but it's not on the same level as, say, like what Awakening and Fate was, to be exact, though. Now, this caused some controversy to some Fire Emblem fans, depending on who you're asking, though. There were some that were very disappointed to see this feature not being there, and I can understand to some degree, but at the same time, I don't see it as really a very big con or anything like that. I'll admit it's unfortunate, but I'm not losing sleep over the fact that the relationships and the way it's set up in Fire Emblem Engage is nowhere near the level as, say, what Awakening was, or Faith was, or even Three Houses was, to be exact, though. So I don't think it's a huge deal, but I can understand why not everybody is a big fan of the relationship as far as what is being done in Fire Emblem Engage, though. Again, it's not the biggest con, but I can see how some folks can be disappointed in that. Overall, I would say Fire Emblem Engage is another fun and enjoyable entry in the Fire Emblem series, and it's one that I would recommend for those who are fans of the past Fire Emblem games, to be exact. At its best, though, the visuals are probably the part that surprised me the most, and I thought that the visuals looked very good for a Fire Emblem game, better than some of the past ones, even better looking than, say, what Fire Emblem Three Houses are, and that part kind of surprised me the most. And the gameplay and the combat is still enjoyable, nevertheless, especially for those who are fans of those type of games. So that still remains there. At its worst, though, is the way that they are approaching relationships in Fire Emblem Engage, though. Some folks are going to be okay with it, some may not. It's all going to come down to your preference or taste. I don't think it's a huge deal, as some on the internet kind of made it sound like it is, though. But I can see why some folks might be disappointed, at least in the way that they handled relationships in Fire Emblem Engage. But in either way, though, it is still a game that I would definitely recommend, especially to add to your Switch library and all, and especially good for those who are Fire Emblem fans, to be exact, though. I am kind of curious to see what direction they will go with the next entry in the Fire Emblem series. Maybe we'll see something for the Switch successor, or Switch 2, or whatever Nintendo's going to call it, to be exact. Maybe we'll see another entry in the Fire Emblem Warrior series, although I would like to see something like Xenoblade Chronicles, have a spin on it with the Warrior formula and all. But in either case, it's nice to see that this series is getting the attention it deserves, though. I do hope that this opens the door for other, dormant Nintendo franchise. Let them get the time in the spotlight. Like, I would love to see a remake or a follow-up to Kid Icarus Uprising. That would be great. Punch-Out! That would also be great. So there are certainly other IPs, even Star Fox, that I would like to see get another shot, and the Switch has shown that it could give those series a shot and all. But in either case, though, fans of the Fire Emblem series will probably enjoy this latest entry, though. Yes, the relationship, someone may or may not like it, though, but I don't think it's going to ruin the enjoyment the enjoyment out of this game. So yeah, definitely a recommendation for Fire Emblem Engage in my book and all. Okay, this concludes this video review of Fire Emblem Engage for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Fire Emblem Engage? Do you like the direction that they went with this latest entry, though? Are you surprised to see how good the visuals look in Fire Emblem Engage compared to past entries? Do you think the combat and the gameplay is still enjoyable? Do you think they should have shaken up the formula in any way? Are you disappointed at how the relationships were handled in Fire Emblem Engage? Or do you don't think it's that big of a deal? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me, Patreon, or Steam Labs. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!